switched up the time for you today so she could make it. And her name is Maddie. I didn't ask for her last name, so I'm going to try it. Maddie Kneebank. Without further ado, here she is. Hey, Maddie. How are you?
Hey, Mark. Thank you so much for having me here. I'm super excited. And thank you also for just being flexible and adjusting the time. 9 p.m. my time is a little late. It's like when I'm in bed because I'm a grandma.
I know, right? Yeah, I was, I was sympathetic to that too because, I put my kids to bed at 8, and essentially as soon as they go to bed, I'm in bed relaxing, watching TV. I either fall asleep at 9, between 9 and 10. So I was like, you know what? Yeah, let's go ahead and switch it up. So,
And if there's one thing that I've learned just like from having had a stroke, it's just that sleep is so important. And I used to not like prioritize sleeping at all and like run on 2 or 3 hours of sleep a night because like whatever, I could do it back then. I was a kid. But now after my injury, I feel like I'm a grandma and I need to go to bed at like by 9 p.m. every single night.
Right. I hear that. Now, can you see these comments that I put up here on the screen, Maddie?
I don't see them actually.
Okay, it's okay.
Or
So
actually, no, there's like a little, there's like a graphic, but I can't read any of them. So if people are
it's all
saying
right.
stuff, just.
I will read them for you. So we have Salud Celinda, who I
Oh,
believe
hi,
you
Salud.
recognize, saying aloha. Kalikilaka-lika-lu-la-li.
Aloha, Salud.
And then we have Shannon Garman, some weirdo. I'm just kidding. That's my wife. That's my wife.
Hi, Shannon.
Then we have Paul saying hello.
Paul. I love Paul.
Right? Everybody likes Paul. All right. So now, Maddie, I want to dive into who Maddie was before we jump into all the good stuff, right? If we were to ask your best friend, what would she say if we asked your best friend who Maddie was pre-stroke?
Pre-stroke Maddie.
Yes.
I would say, in a lot of ways, very similar to post-stroke Maddie. Not with the whole grandma thing.
Right.
I think my friends would say that I am fun, outgoing, and always just like spontaneous and like open to really like doing anything, you know?
Uh-huh.
So I think spontaneous is a good one. Like a happy-go-lucky and like sociable and approachable person. Yeah, I just, just want to have fun.
There you go. I like it. So, we already discussed before show that we are AVM buddies.
Yes, we are.
Yes, we are. Now, what happened? Like, do you remember that day?
I do remember that day. So I guess to give a little bit of context.
Yeah, let's talk about like what led up to it actually.
So, I mean, some people on here might already have heard me say this, but I had migraines since I was really young. And they would be terrible, debilitating migraines. I'd be out for the count, like not able to go to school, and like medicine wouldn't help. The only thing I could do was really lay down, and even that didn't always help with the migraines. And then one time I had one when I was like 15 years old, and it lasted 24 days. And I ended up going to the ER multiple times.
Wow.
And my neurologist ordered an MRI and was like, let's see if something else is going on. And they found that I had this AVM in my brain, which, we're similar in that sense with having had an AVM. And I was lucky in that I found out about it. Like a lot of people don't know they have an AVM until, they have a stroke or it's too late. And
ruptures, yeah.
Exactly, a rupture. So I was lucky. And then the question was, what do I do about it? So I consulted many, many, many doctors, eventually came to the conclusion that I wanted to graduate from college and then, take a couple months off before I started working a full-time job and get brain surgery and just kind of get rid of this like thing in my brain, because
Right.
while a lot of the doctors wouldn't agree on like what needed to be done about it, like some said take it out, some said just kind of leave it, whatever, it probably won't rupture. They did say that with each year you live, there's an increased chance of it bleeding.
Oh wow.
And to me, I really didn't like that. So I said, you know what, I'm just going to graduate and then I'm going to get this taken care of. So,
So you were 15 when you found out about it, right?
mhm,
And then I'm assuming
20,
18, graduate from high school, go to
yes,
school for what,
22
4
when I
years,
graduate
22?
college.
Okay, so you graduate college at 22, and then you had the debilitating headaches or migraines. How tough was it with those migraines to go to school and do your college work?
So tough.
Yeah,
Honestly, like, and I'm very fortunate now because now that I've had an emergency brain surgery on my AVM and I don't have that anymore, I don't have migraines anymore, which leads me to believe that there was a connection and that the AVM was kind of causing them.
right.
So, in that sense, I'm very lucky, but I have suffered with them for the vast majority of my life. And I would not wish migraines on anyone. Like, it's so bad,
Yeah.
terrible pain. And like, I would get the aura, so I couldn't see anything.
Mhm.
And just ugh. I just had like a little shudder because thinking about the medicine that I used to have to take for my migraines, like I still have that taste in my mouth and it
Mhm.
didn't even work.
Right.
Like that's a thing, at least for me with my migraines, like the medicine wouldn't do anything. Sleep wouldn't even really do anything. It just kind of needed time, which is the
Yeah.
hardest part about it.
Yeah, and I mean, 24 days, that's way too much time.
Way too much time. And that happened a couple, there were probably like 3 like consecutive years, I think, when that happened. And that
Yeah,
was just not fun.
that's insane. Insane right there.
Mm.
Now, so I know that when when I went back to school, mine was after I had my stroke. Um, my like I had to study harder and whatnot.
Right.
Um, you know, with your migraines in place, I'm assuming you had like moments where you're just like, I can't focus, I can't study
Hmm.
right now. So, how did you handle that?
Honestly, the only thing that I could really do was just like take a break and lay down. Maybe because for me, it's like migraines kind of ebb and flow. Like there, if I was having a really long one that was lasting a couple of days, like there would be breaks when the pain was still there, but it was more dull and not as bad. You know what I'm saying?
Mhm,
So it kind of like would have its ups and its downs. Like sometimes it'd be super intense, and I'd have to like whenever it got to be like more of the dull throbbing pain, not so like acute. Like
mhm.
that would be the time I'd have to take advantage of to like do all the stuff that I was supposed to be doing that day.
Right, right.
So learning to like live with the pain, I guess, some way to say it.
Yeah, yeah. Finding that little tiny open slot. All right, I'm gonna cram in this little study session here.
Exactly.
Yeah. Now,
Yes.
so we got Brooke here saying hello, Mark and Maddie. Headaches are
Hi, Brooke.
awful. We have
Gotcha.
someone you know here, Jerry Wall from Let's Talk Stroke. Hey, Mark and Maddie.
Hi, Jerry. Love Jerry.
Right? Who doesn't like Jerry? I mean, come on now. So, circling back around to when you were 15, right?
Yes.
And you went to the hospital. The neurologist was like, okay, so obviously you go to the hospital, right?
Mm-hmm.
And they're, scrambling around. It's an assumption. Correct me if I'm wrong. They're scrambling around. Okay, what's wrong with Maddie? We don't know. Let's figure it out, right? Um, how long did it actually take for the neurologist to say, let's get a scan going? How long did it take?
It kind of took that one super long migraine of like
Okay.
20 plus days when I was in the ER a couple of times over that period.
Couple of times,
And that
yes.
was kind of when he was like, okay, yeah, like maybe there's something else going on here.
So
So it
that's
took like,
yeah.
I guess in a way, and I try and view it this way. I try and view like everything that's happened to me as a blessing and an opportunity instead of an obstacle. And just trying to reframe my perspective and thinking like, okay, well, I could view that like having migraines sucks, which it does, but like now that I've already gone through this whole experience of having had a stroke and I'm still like recovering from that, just like in a way thankful that I had those, because then we found out about the AVM, then we could make a plan to operate on it and get rid of it,
Right.
you know?
Not
So I guess
yeah.
in a way it's like a perspective thing. I try to.
I mean, honestly, like in essence, that from that viewpoint and that specific time, yes, it is a whole perspective thing. And then after, you had your stroke, that's a whole different story from the perspective standpoint, you know,
Mhm.
but we'll get there when we get there.
Mhm.
So, obviously being 15 years old, your parents, they found out as well when you did, that you had your AVM. So, what was their reaction to it?
I think at least initially like there was just a lot of uncertainty, and like we didn't really know like what's an AVM, like so what does that mean you don't have like capillaries in your your brain or whatever the heck it is. So a lot of it took some time to kind of like learn and figure out like what this means, and then okay, what would be the best thing to do, because yes, I didn't like the fact that I had this AVM in my brain, but I didn't know what to do about it. Like, is this like it's not really affecting my life besides I'm having really bad migraines. But the neurologist and the neurosurgeons, they couldn't say for sure that there was a link between the two. Like I could just get really
Really?
bad migraines,
Oh,
you
wow.
know? So they didn't want to say with certainty that the AVM and the migraines were connected, but they said that it could be.
Either way, obviously, the AVM needed to come out. Right?
Either way, exactly. In short, it needed to get out,
Right.
but the process for removing it was what was highly disputed between the many different doctors I saw.
Right. And so did you consult multiple neurosurgeons, or did you just go with the
I
first
did.
one?
No,
Or
I consulted with a lot, and actually the first like few ones I saw, they said that my AVM was too big to operate on, and so they would say just kind of like leave it. And then the neurosurgeon that I ended up going to, who is a New York Presbyterian in the city, he said, "Yeah, this is like dangerous. We need to get rid of this." But it needed to be embolized or shrunk before they could
Mhm,
operate on it because it was apparently really big.
mhm.
So when I finally did go in for my brain surgery, I had to have an embolization and like an angiogram and a bunch of other stuff to, I guess, shrink it down so that the neurosurgeon could operate on it and remove it. And
Now is that radiation?
I I don't want to say with certainty that it is, but I think it's just like another method that they use
Okay.
to shrink it. To be honest, I don't actually know. I just know that they did the embolization to make it smaller
Uh-huh.
and then an angiogram to like see it. And it was actually those procedures, the preoperative procedures, which ended up causing a blood clot in my brain, which burst. So I
Gnarly.
had the stroke when I was in the
Gnarly.
hospital.
Wow. That's super gnarly.
But I mean,
Yeah,
hey, if you're gonna have a stroke, if you're to be in the hospital is the best place to have it.
100%. I couldn't agree more. I think we're getting more and more in common here. We're gaining more and more in common here. So, yeah, so you go in, you get the angiogram. They try to shrink it. through these processes, and then that's when the blood clot happens.
Yes.
And so then I would assume that the blood clot started in your brain then, correct?
Yes, correct. Yeah,
Okay.
it was in my brain.
Yeah. So the blood clot started in your brain and then did what it needed to do to make you have your stroke.
Yeah. And it's funny because the very last thing I remember from that day was I had already had the angiogram and the embolization, and they said I needed to like recover for a couple hours in wherever the ICU before they could take me into the surgery. And my mom was sitting right next to me, and I was complaining to her of the worst headache I've ever had in my entire life, like way, way worse than any of my worst migraines. And so that was probably when it started. That's the last thing I remember.
That's nuts. That's insane. And like you said, it's who knows what could have happened if that happened at home.
Right,
Just like
exactly.
yeah, just like the acronyms, the fast acronym. The last thing on there is time. So
Mhm.
luckily, at the hospital, the time was right there. And so you had the stroke. You obviously did not go in and have the surgery then. So what happened right after you had your stroke then?
Well, so what happened was I was rushed into an emergency brain surgery.
Okay.
Um, the neurosurgeon was called because I mean, it's kind of funny now, but like the neurosurgeon had literally just gone home for the night to get like a couple hours of sleep before he did my brain surgery the next morning. And then literally as soon as he's left, he gets a call and is like, "Oh my God, she's having a stroke. Like, you need to come back now."
Oh shit.
So he did not sleep that night and was super exhausted, and yet operated on my brain and took out the AVM and stopped the bleeding. So very thankful for that.
What a rock star. Where's this guy at?
Seriously.
Right?
It's kind of funny, like, thinking about it now. Obviously not in the moment. Like, when he came back before he rushed in to operate on me, I was told that he saw my parents and he told them, like, "I'm sorry, I'm gonna try everything I can, but, like, this I need you to know that the situation is grim and, like, I'm not sure if she's gonna make it, but I'm
Wow.
gonna try." So that I mean, I would imagine from my parents' perspective, it's like, "Holy shit, like, what
Right?
do you mean she might not?"
Right?
So,
Yeah. And did they ever like talk to you about that day? Or
my
have they
parents
ever? Yeah.
yeah, well, so they were the ones who told me that. Actually, I was obviously
Yeah.
passed out, having a stroke, and
Yeah,
not
right.
not around literally having a stroke and not around for that. But,
You wait, you weren't in that conversation?
no, not quite. But, yeah, no, I've heard from them and from my siblings that, just how scary it was, like, not knowing what was going to happen, if I would wake up or if I'd be in a coma, which I was, but I did get up from the coma. But here's an interesting thing. I have 2 younger siblings. My brother is a year younger than me, and my sister is 4 years younger than me. My sister was at her senior prom that night, like
Oh
her
wow.
senior prom of high school, and my
Wait,
mom, I
wait,
guess,
way to put a damper on things, Maddie.
way to ruin the prom night.
Right?
Like, my mom, like, calls her and is like, "You need to come to the hospital now,
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
this is not good." And then, her thankfully, like, her prom date's mom was super nice and drove her into the city to wait for me, um, you know, and, I've been super extremely blessed and just grateful to have, like, a strong support network of my family and really good friends who have done so many things, not just for me, but for my family, like cooking meals for them when I was in the hospital, and all the prayers and mass cards and, just so many good things coming out of this. I've had like strangers write me letters or reach out to my family and say like we heard about your daughter, like we're keeping her in our prayers and pray for recovery. So I mean, there are a lot of good things that have come out of this.
Oh, 100%, and yeah, we have been, punched in the gut, slapped in the face. Our world's flipped upside down by something, a stroke. But I myself am a firm believer that everything happens for a reason. You
I
know,
think so too.
yeah,
I really do.
yeah. Now, Jerry here says, we do these shows to bring awareness to stroke, brain injury, and aphasia. You're a
Mm.
stud, Maddie. You too,
Thank
Mark.
you, Jerry.
Love you both. And then we have Brooke says, true, stroke at the hospital would be better. Cami, time is hard. Brooke, again, she's blown away by your story. She says, that's nuts.
It's crazy.
It is. It is.
But
Now,
come so far in the past. I guess this happened like 3.5 years ago. Woke up completely paralyzed on the left side of my body, and like
yeah,
so began a lot of therapy and rehab, both
right.
cognitive and like physical, occupational, what have you.
Yeah,
So
so that's what we're gonna jump into. So I want to know, like, exactly. So you said you were in a coma for how long now?
I was actually only in for a couple hours, like after the operation.
Okay. And then, so obviously, I don't want to, I mean, brain surgery is not, some normal, surgery, but, you went in for a routine surgery, right? A routine brain
Hmm.
surgery,
A routine brain
right?
surgery.
I mean, it sounds so mundane, but, it's pretty serious. But, in essence, you went in for this surgery, right? And, there was obvious complications here, and you went in, you had the stroke. Then you went in, they did the surgery, you were in your coma for a little bit. I'm assuming for the swelling to
Hmm.
bring it down,
Yes.
let your body calm down a little bit. Um, then you wake up from your coma. What was your mindset? How was your body? Like what was going on?
Well, when I learned upon waking up that I couldn't move anything on the left side of my body, I was like, what's going on? Like, what do you mean I can't like get up and walk to the bathroom on my own? Like, I literally couldn't do anything. And this was also like my face too, like the left side of my face. Like, I couldn't smile. I
Mhm.
couldn't talk. My voice was monotone. It had zero vocal inflection, and I couldn't, I had a lot of problems with speech in the early days. And yeah, and then also with just moving things. Like, I remember the neurosurgeon would come in after and be like, can you feel me? Like, am I touching you? And I like couldn't I had not that good sensation on my
Mhm.
left side either. The sensation was extremely impaired. So I didn't even know that someone was touching me. And then I have a lot of problems. I lost a significant portion of my peripheral vision on the left side. So in both of my eyes on the left side. So like my parents or someone would like stand off to the side and be like, "Can you see me?" And I could see what was right in front of me, but then it just cut and I couldn't see anything
Oh wow.
out of the corner of my eye. So it was a huge adjustment for me to learn to do that so
Right.
I could see things, because I can't see out of the peripherals anymore. And so if I want to see something, like I have to literally turn my head and look. And my neck was all messed up I had cervical dystonia from it. So I couldn't even turn my head to look because I couldn't do that. Like, I had to work really hard to get my neck to be a lot straighter and stuff. So there's just a lot of things. Those are just some of the many issues that have arisen.
Right. Now they had these glasses when I was a kid that you put on and you can see like to the side.
Oh.
Did you invest in some of those or what?
No, so I wear contacts, but
Okay.
I mean, since the stroke,
Yeah.
I had double vision, and so because I had double vision, I couldn't wear contacts. I
Okay.
had to have special prism lenses, prism glasses. But then this was actually only back in February of this year. After the double vision kind of settled a bit, I got surgery on my eyes, a bilateral strabismus surgery, they call it, to correct the double vision. And that worked. I have like slight residual double vision, but I can wear contacts now. So that's been like a really great thing for
Awesome. That's totally
me.
awesome. But you said you still have the
Yeah,
peripheral blockage, right?
the missing vision isn't going to come back.
Yeah. Yeah. And so uh, once you woke up from the coma, per- uh, par- was it all the way paralyzed or partial paralysis on the left side?
Of the left
Com-
side, yeah.
Complete. So then, did you start doing your therapy right there in the bed? Did they have you? What happened right there?
Yeah, so I stayed after I woke up, I stayed in the ICU for 15 days, and I learned during that time how to sit in a wheelchair because I had like no strength and no trunk control or whatever.
Mhm.
So the biggest thing I accomplished during those 2 weeks was to sit in a wheelchair. And that was like a big thing. And
Yeah.
it was around that time that I was kind of starting to wake up to the fact that, okay, I'm not just going to like wake up one day and be back to where I was. Like,
Right.
the only way I'm going to get better is if I do this work. And I don't want to have to use a cane, but like at this point I can't even walk at all, so that would be better than nothing.
Right. Right. Now, I know that back, 23 years ago, they do therapy different now.
Hmm.
So you go into therapy. How did they start you out first in therapy to get you essentially back up on your feet?
Well, in the beginning when I was in the wheelchair and stuff, like we did, I don't know if they had this for you, like those little like harness things where you'd like kind of walk in a harness.
No.
Okay. We'd do stuff like that, or just
Yeah.
like with my PT walking right next to me. Because the
Mhm.
big thing, once I was able to walk with the cane, was building up to the point where I didn't need someone to be like hovering right over me. Like, I didn't need this. I wanted to get to a point where I didn't need supervision
Right.
to walk.
Yeah. So they put you in this harness, right? And I mean, I don't know much about it. So the harness, I'm assuming
Basically,
is it
like a
something
thing
that
that you can.
moves? Is it something that moves with you when you're walking or
I have used one of those, yes.
okay. And
And then
and
basically, like, you can't support yourself, you fall down, you're
right.
caught.
Right. Yeah, cuz yeah, so they had a gait belt on me
Oh,
and
yeah,
they'd
the
hold
gate
the gait
belt.
belt parallel bars. I think that
Oh, I used that too, actually.
yeah, so I think that the whole like trying to establish your own balance and walking is a better technique that they're kind of using now, it seems like,
Mhm.
to where it was more back then it was more like supervised
Uh-huh.
to so I walk with a pretty severe limp. I caught that you said that you have a severe limp, but it's slight, right? You said it was a slight
I
limp.
would say I have a slight limp. I do
Yeah.
have a limp. It's not I've worked very hard to improve it, and I do still have one, but I think it's minimal.
Yeah.
I don't know, what have you done anything helpful for improving your gait?
I did when I was 18. So that would have been 3 years post. I worked out really heavy with my dad. And when I mean really heavy, I mean like super heavy. I think I was benching like maybe close to 250.
Whoa.
So my left side was pretty much the same size as my right side. Like
Oh wow.
we were working out Monday through Friday. And I think that had a lot to do with where I'm at today. I
And you
still
were
have,
able to like work out your left hand without like or your left arm without like modification or anything?
well, I mean, obviously started out super light.
Mhm.
Like, 2 pound dumbbell. And then I worked up to where, I was able to grip it, or I'd get the strap that wrapped around my wrist and
Right.
then
Yeah.
wrapped around the dumbbell. And then, with in time, my grip strength would get better because, it's getting stronger through working out and whatnot.
Mhm.
But yeah, and that's what we do. We do like 100 push-ups in the AM, before the workout. And then, so I'm a firm believer, obviously, I'm that's just what I did. I'm not saying everybody should do that, but yeah, I just worked out heavy and yeah.
I'm trying to get to a point where I can do a full push-up.
Are you doing girl push-ups?
Right now I am, yes.
Yeah, see? There you go.
No, but I want to work up to like having my legs like cuz I could do full push-up before, and I need to wear something on my wrist because my fingers will kind of like bend in if I don't
Mhm.
have like,
Yeah,
some type of like weight-bearing splint on them.
yeah.
So I have to wear that. And yeah, I do it like a the girl push-up, but I want to be able to work up to having my legs fully extended.
Yeah, that's where I started out too. I started out with the girl push-ups. And then started out with the girl push-ups, and I was never able to put both of my feet out. So what I did is I crossed my legs. You know what I
What do you
mean? So when you're doing the push-ups, how you extend both your legs.
Yes.
So I wasn't able to do that just because my foot wouldn't allow
Mhm.
it. So I just
Yeah.
crossed my foot over, my left leg over
Oh,
my right
okay.
leg. So I crossed that, and then I
Oh,
just do the
okay.
push-ups like
Interesting.
so. Yeah.
That might be something I try something like that maybe.
Hmm. Yeah. So, I know Brooke on here she is a workout a gym rat. She's looking buff in all her posts. Um, and then so she's showing some mad support with some buff arms here.
All right.
Yep. And then the gym has been good for me. It helps recovery is possible is what Brooke is saying here. And
Definitely.
then Jerry is saying that he had the harness on the treadmill. So basically,
Mm.
was yours on the treadmill or no?
I've done that one too, yes.
Okay. And then
Especially like in the beginning.
yeah,
That was very helpful.
yeah. And then Jerry's saying I do girl push-ups now. Woohoo!
Yeah. Woohoo! Nothing
We're
wrong with girl push-ups.
no, not at all. Hey, you're getting your workout in no matter what. You know what I
A
mean?
push-up's a push-up in my
Hey,
book.
that's what I'm talking about.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? Even I mean, there's no way I can do a freaking push-up now. Freaking I'm too top heavy now. But if I worked up to it, I could. But yeah. Anyways, enough about how unfit I am. So so now let's go back to where Maddie is at post stroke. Okay, so we talked about your recovery, talked about your therapy and all that jazz. So what happened when you were released from your therapy?
Like in so I after I was in the
Are you,
hospital for 15 days, then
yeah,
I went to the inpatient, which is where I
right.
learned to walk with the cane
Yeah.
for like 5 weeks or
Okay.
something. And then I was released from that. And then I was allowed to go to outpatient therapy.
Okay.
And I did outpatient therapy 2 to 3 times a week for 1.5 years,
Oh, wow.
like
Nice.
straight. So I did it for a long time.
Yeah.
And then took a break. And then I actually started, wait, hang on. A couple months after I got released from my 1.5 years of outpatient therapy, I started working full time. So that I was kind of thinking like, oh, here's an opportunity to start working. Like, might as well take it. And like, this is another important part of my life. Like I've been focusing so hard on the therapy. Like I need a little break from that. And so working was a great way for me to, still feel like I was doing something productive, obviously, but then also,
Hmm.
it's still therapy in a sense,
Yeah.
and still working your brain. And I don't know, I was feeling very like kind of left out because oops, I was feeling very left out just because everyone I knew who was my age, all my friends and everything were working jobs. And I was just like at home doing therapy. And I wanted to be like everyone else. Like I didn't want to
Yeah.
be doing what I was doing. And so I was always kind of looking for ways to do that. And so actually, before I started working, maybe I should mention that I decided to write a book. And so when I decided to do that, that was kind of like a way for me to continue my cognitive therapy without actually being in cognitive therapy and, work on all those skills like organization and planning and time management and all that stuff that kind of got like messed up for me
Hmm.
after the stroke. Like I used to be so organized and not have any problems with that. And then found that after the stroke, like I realized like I had a lot of trouble with my executive functioning.
Okay. So this is how many years post did you decide, hey, you know what? I can freaking write. I'm gonna write this book, man. So
Yeah, it actually the way that I probably should explain this is I had my stroke in May of 2017, so three and a
okay.
half years ago. By like September 2017, so like a couple months after, was really when I kind of hit this rut where I was thinking like this sucks. All my friends, everyone I know have jobs and are working and I'm just doing therapy. Like I
Mhm.
feel like I need to do something like productive with my time. So I made the decision to like use my free time that I'm not working to reconnect with people who had been super impactful or like inspiring in my life and kind of like, just have conversations with them and see like what I can learn during this time from people who I admire. And one of those people was my college professor, like one of the best professors I've ever had. And he was the one who really like encouraged me to take this time that I'm not working to learn about something that I'm interested in and really just like do a deep dive and then maybe like, I could put all the stuff that I learned into a book and like that could be published, whatever. So I said I was thinking that's a great idea. I'm not
Mhm.
working. I'm not really doing anything except therapy 24/7, but like if I wanted to learn about something, I'd always been interested in fashion. So I decided that I would interview people in the industry and like write up their stories and, you know, see what I could learn. And it was in a way like directly related to my journey with stroke recovery too. Just because I like fashion is something I've always been interested in, and as a stroke survivor, I have a lot of problems with like clothing, I would say. And I'm sure maybe a lot of the other people on here might also have problems with like finding shoes that can fit with my brace or
Mhm.
pants that can go over it. Or, clothes just don't fit the same, and it's
Mm-hmm.
harder to put them on and all this stuff. And so I wrote about a lot of those challenges in my book too. And then when my book was published, a lot of people who read it said that they really liked those little stories that I told about, like, my journey with recovery. And so after that book came out, like, I was kind of, based off of the feedback that I got from my first book, excuse me, inspired to write another one more specifically focused on my journey with recovery.
That's awesome. So you were able to, quick question. How were you able to find these people to interview in the fashion world and get them to say, "Yeah, sure, why not? I'll let you interview me to be in your book."
So I started by reaching out to people within my network. So, like, people I knew, and I would, maybe they weren't someone that I necessarily wanted to interview, but I would ask them, "Do you know anyone?" Blah blah blah. And that's how I got a lot of the people that I ended up interviewing, was like someone that I knew someone who maybe knew someone, or, something like that. So it was also just a really good excuse for me to cultivate my own personal and professional network, and,
Yeah.
reconnect with people who I hadn't spoken to in a while. So in that sense, it was a really good practice for me, really good exercise to learn how to reach out to people, ask for connections, and to how to interview.
Yeah. I mean, definitely that's a life trait that you want to have, interviewing experience. I mean,
Exactly.
not only is that, it helps you, learn how to converse with people, you know, and all that jazz. So, ultimately, the decision was when I had my AVM, the decision was mine, whether or not,
Hmm.
um, if I wanted to have the surgery or not. Now, was that a conjoined decision between you and your parents, or was it up to you? Because you did say you wanted to finish college and all that jazz.
Yes.
So how did that play out?
So it was a joint decision. Like, my parents were kind of like, "Oh, well, this isn't, I mean, yeah, you get bad migraines, but it isn't really like affecting your life. Like, why would you want to create like another potential like issue for yourself?" But I was kind of thinking, like, I just would rather like have the peace of mind knowing that this thing was out of here. And so I kind of pushed for, why don't I get the surgery like when I'm done with school? And I mean, ultimately they were like, "Okay, like, if that's what you want to do, like, after you graduate college would be a really good time, because you're not meant to be working for a couple of months. Like, you have that time off to kind of like deal with this and recover."
Yeah, instead of going having a spring break in Cancun after you graduate, you're
Although
supposed
that would have
to
been nice too. That would have been nice.
you're supposed to go go get
I'm still bitter about that I never got like a super fun post grad trip.
right.
My post grad trip was to the Kessler Institute for Rehabilitation.
Right, playing pinochle with the older generation that was in there, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was my wild post graduation life.
So, sounds like a party and a half.
Mhm.
I digged it for sure.
Oh yeah.
Now, how let I'm kinda, like, jumping all over we're kinda,
No,
like,
that's
going in
fine.
order, out of order, going back to what we were talking about before. Talk a little bit more about, your book and
Oh, let me get
how
it.
it's yeah, go for it.
So my new book, this is the one that
Yes,
I'm more
that's the one I wanna talk about, the
this is the
new
one
one.
that I'm more like passionate about. Here.
Yeah,
Can you see it? It's
fast
called
forward.
Fast Forward: The Fully Recovered Mindset.
There we go.
Because to me, one thing I learned early on in my rehab is that recovery is more a mindset than anything. And like one thing I learned is that yes, I can't do everything like how I used to be able to. Like my hand doesn't work as well as it used to, or, just doing things is harder. But like that is not going to stop me from living a full and exciting life. Like just because I can't do things how I used to doesn't mean that I still can't find meaning in my life and do things that are important to me. And, it just means that I have to do them in a slightly different way than how I did before. But it doesn't mean I can't have a good life,
All right.
And so
Yeah,
recovery is a mindset.
100%. I agree. So, um, say for instance, you used this phone before like this with,
Mhm.
your affected side and your non-affected side,
Yeah.
and you can't use it with your affected side anymore. But, you figure out a way to, use it again with your affected side, or you figure out a way to adapt and just use it,
Right. Find a
in
slightly
us.
different way.
Yeah,
Or even
exactly.
just to try and like get your affected hand involved.
Yes, exactly. Like maybe instead of holding it like this, you hold it like this, a little bit different, right? And that's kind of the point that you're trying to get across, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Well, your hand works really good.
It does. It does. I can do
How do I
this
get to
number.
that point?
Well, I'm 23 years post, so it's a lot of hard work and
Yeah. How long did it take you
determination.
to get to that?
Um, I'd say about 6 years or so.
Oh,
Maybe
wow.
I'm still, it might be a little bit longer. It's too hard to remember that far back, but
Mhm.
I'm still progressing little by little, every day.
That's amazing.
I compare our recovery to a diet.
Mhm.
You decide you want to go on a diet and you lose all this weight at first,
Mhm.
right? And then you're still dieting, but you're not seeing the results, right? And you don't see the results until you step on a scale,
Right.
or you put on those old jeans that didn't fit before and they fit, or one of your girlfriends comes over, your friends comes over and it's like, dang, you lost a lot of
Yeah.
weight,
Whoa.
right? Because the changes are so minute, they're so small.
Right.
So it's just a matter of continuing to do those repetitions, do
Uh-huh.
the small things. If you're just sitting there on the couch, just continuing to
Wait, can I
do
just
this number.
mention one thing that I
Yeah.
I noticed that like you when you're talking like you're waving like both of your arms around and stuff. Like I don't really do that. Like I used to gesture obviously a
Mhm.
lot like with both my arms, but I don't so much with this hand anymore. And I don't know, like I just was seeing you do it. Like
Mhm.
it maybe is that how it starts? Like maybe I just start like
Yeah, I mean, why
with it.
not? Yeah, I mean, get it, I've
But both your hands like I don't know, you're moving it around, you're using it around just for like gesturing, which to me is something that I don't really do anymore.
yeah, and I think it's more or less like for me, in order for me to use my left hand, it's something I have to think about.
Right. Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like
Me too.
if I'm like, for instance, like washing the dishes,
Mhm.
for where it would come natural to, okay, like hold the dish with this hand and scrub with the other hand, where that would be a natural reaction prior to my stroke. Now it's like
Right.
okay, I gotta hold the plate with my left hand. Then, obviously this is a natural reaction with the right hand. So, I think this, like the whole gesturing, is something that worked on, and now it's more of a natural reaction type thing.
Yeah,
Although,
that's so it is something that you have worked on is
yeah,
getting gesturing. I don't know.
yeah.
I think that's so cool. I don't know if anyone else like on here does that too, but I think that's such a cool little thing. And now I think that's something that I'm going to add to my just to remember in my daily conversations I have with like my parents or whatever, like to try and I don't know, engage my hand a little bit more.
Yeah, 100%. And you'll notice too when you're doing it, and don't shy away from it either, because you'll
I
notice
think I get worried about how it like people will think it looks weird.
this is what the exactly where I was going to go with it. You'll notice too when when you're conversing with someone, because obviously my left hand, you can see it here kind of shaking sometimes, and it
Mhm.
doesn't move the same as my right hand. And you'll see like people kind of like focus in on your left hand, and you like know that they're looking right at your left hand, but
Yeah.
you can't let that, shy
You
you
can't.
away from continuing to do it.
That's
You know what I mean?
interesting because that is like one of the main things that I get worried about is like what other people will think. But I guess ultimately, like, who cares? Like, I'm just trying to do my best.
I gave up that a long time ago. You know what I mean? Like caring what people think about me. I gave that up, man, long time ago.
Yeah.
Yeah, so long ago. I could, yeah. There's only a select few people that, if they thought something negative about me, it would hurt my heart. But yeah, otherwise, it's like, oh, yeah, get out of here, man. I don't care, type deal. But yeah, as far as, and also, I joke around a lot too. Like, I have a whole like story of like what happened to me and all that stuff.
Hmm.
Because, I had mine at a young age. I had mine when I was
Right.
15. And, I'm sure you've experienced this too, where you just get random people come up. Hey, what happened to you?
Right. A lot of people will think it was like some type of leg injury or something,
Yeah.
which
Yeah.
I've come to view as a compliment because it means they don't suspect like the far worse or like
Mhm.
thing that there was actually like a neurologic thing. And then usually if I say to them like what it actually was, they're like, "Oh, but you're so
I'm
young,"
sorry. I'm sorry. Yeah.
you know?
Yeah. Yeah. So, yeah, 100%. And, being so young, I came up with two stories actually that I would tell people, because being that young, I didn't want to dive into my personal life on what
Mhm.
happened to me, and I came up with two stories that I told people, back then. And one was a shark attack story, and the other was Indian try to scalp me story. And and you wouldn't believe how many people, because I got so good at telling the stories, you wouldn't believe
Mhm.
that how many people, were like, did that really happen?
That's a good I need to come up with like a good thing to say. I
Yeah.
don't have a good story. I need one though.
It
Maybe I'll go with the shark attack.
There you go. There you go. I mean, I don't want to take up all your time, but maybe after we jump off here, I'll tell you the shark attack story
Yes.
and
Yeah,
the Indian one.
definitely.
Yeah, for sure. Now, Maddie, we talked about pre-Maddie. We talked about what happened with your stroke, and we talked about post Maddie. Now, how is I want to say, how was and is your family, like, how do they deal with the whole shebang?
Mm. They deal with it well, and my family is very supportive of me and helpful. Like when there's things that I can't do and stuff, they're always there to help me find a way to do it. And I feel like my family has been a huge motivating thing for me
Nice.
because, like, especially back when I was learning to walk with a cane and stuff, like, I would get tired after a few steps and want to sit down in my wheelchair. And it would be like my mom and my dad and my siblings would be like, no, Maddie, like just take 3 more steps, then you can take a break. Like, they're really good at pushing me. And they knew that I had all these like huge goals that I was working towards, and they knew that like in order for me to achieve them and get to a point where I was happy and more independent, I would have to do these things. Like I would have to push myself and go on walks and stuff. And so they've been amazing and very helpful. Very, very appreciative.
That's amazing. I love it. I love to hear it. I love to hear, honestly, I do. I love to hear things like that, because you hear so many times in our community that family and friends have been lost because, we have sustained a stroke. And did you experience that at all from anyone, or has everyone stuck by your side?
I did experience the losing some people, and it did kind of bother me for a while, but I came to realize that all of the people who really care about me are making an effort, and like, why waste my precious time and energy thinking about people who aren't going to make the effort and reach out or whatever. Like, so I try to just focus on the ones who do.
Boom. There you go. You heard it right there.
No, definitely.
It is, and it's kind of like ripping the Band-Aid off, it's right there. You don't want to do it, but you want to do it. It needs to be done. You just got to do it. Freaking hurts, but hey, it feels so much better when it's done. You know what I mean? Now, Maddie, thank you so much. I appreciate you. I appreciate you coming on.
This is awesome. No, thank you for having me, and thank you everyone for joining.
Yeah, let's go ahead and check out who has come on. We have Lynette Price.
Oh, hi, Lynette.
Yes, who hosts Lynette's Journey. We have Brooke Allen, the rock star. We have Sue Pluis, who has been a guest on my show. We have Melissa Overfield. Who else we got? We got Mr. Hey Now, Brad LeMay.
Hi, everyone.
We have Glory Now Sufferings. Girl, push-ups are still push-ups.
They are still push-ups.
They are. Hey, why not?
And who knows, maybe I'll work up to a full push-up.
Hey, I believe it. Let me know when you get there, all right?
Anything is possible.
It is. If you believe it, you can achieve it. We got I think we already did that. And then obviously we got Salud in the house. Who else we got? We got Cammie in the house. We got Paul Quillen in the house. And and for everyone that has joined us, I appreciate you guys. Maddie, I appreciate you. Do you have any final thoughts for our community?
Don't give up. Keep working, even if you feel like you're not seeing progress, because if you look back, most likely you will see stuff. This is why I always document everything, and then appreciate the moment, because the present moment is all we have. And I feel like this is also super relevant towards living in the coronavirus pandemic, like taking a moment to appreciate all that we have, even like the little simple things, is huge. Gratitude is a great practice.
There you go. Now I'm gonna follow it up with what my little snippet up top says up here. Setbacks only make your comeback story more glorious.
I love that. I love that.
Now, Maddie, She went in for her surgery, suffered a stroke, came back even stronger. She didn't sit there and, essentially wallow in self-pity. She got up, got back on her feet, freaking wrote a
Literally.
literally, literally and figuratively, because you know what? She wrote not one book, but two books. So that just goes to show that you know it is possible to bounce back, from
It is.
having, yeah, it is, and from having our stroke, where we were to where we go post stroke. That's not what we need to focus on. We need to focus on where we can go after our stroke.
Exactly. I never thought in a million years, if you would have asked me like 5 years ago or something, never in a million years would have thought that one, this would have happened, but then two, that all the amazing things that have happened after this, becoming a published author of 2 books, meeting all these amazing people in the stroke and brain injury community, doing podcasts and doing lives with my co-host, and all this stuff, like I never would have imagined, but it's been such a beautiful blessing. Obstacles are opportunities.
There you go. Always jump over those obstacles, those hurdles in your way. Never view them as a brick wall. If you view them as a brick wall, you might be able to gain some traction on that brick wall, but you always find yourself at the base of that brick wall. Always view those obstacles as hurdles, because guess what? We can jump over hurdles. All right, Maddie. I always say a prayer at the end of my show.
Let's do
Let's
it.
get to it. Dear Heavenly Father, thank you so much for continuing to bring another person in my path so that we can share their testimony to continue to inspire and deliver hope and inspiration and determination that that an individual within our community can grasp and believe that they too can strive to improve in their therapy. And I ask that you continue to look over our community. And in Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
All right, Maddie. Thank you so much. I appreciate you.
All right. Thank you, Mark. This is so fun. And I hope we can. Will I be able to access this recording?
Yeah, it will be on YouTube. Yeah, on YouTube.
All right. Send it over to me when you're done. I'll try and promote it as well.